The story opens with Nathan Cross standing in the cultural exchange wing of Concordia Station, trying to maintain professional composure while his heart hammers in his chest. He's a human linguistics specialist assigned to help newly arrived alien delegates navigate station protocols, and today he's meeting the Voltari delegation for the first time. The Voltari are a species humanity has had limited contact with, elegant, long-lived, and known for being emotionally reserved to the point of seeming cold. When Ambassador Lyris enters the orientation room, Nathan experiences something he's only heard about in stories and songs. Instant, overwhelming, completely irrational attraction. She's tall and graceful, with luminescent patterns on her skin that shift like aurora, eyes that seem to see through pretense, and a bearing that's simultaneously regal and somehow lonely. Nathan knows this reaction is absurd. He's met her for 30 seconds. He knows nothing about her beyond her title and species, and yet every cell in his body has decided that she's the most important person he's ever going to meet. He tries to hide it, keeps his voice professional, his demeanor friendly but neutral, his eyes anywhere except lingering on her face. He delivers his orientation briefing about station layout and diplomatic protocols with perfect professionalism, while internally his brain is screaming that he's completely lost his mind over someone he just met. Then, about 10 minutes into his briefing, Lyris holds up one hand to pause him. "Forgive the interruption," she says, her voice melodic and carrying careful formality. "But I need to address something before we continue. You are experiencing significant emotional response to my presence, yes." Nathan freezes. His carefully maintained professional facade crumbles. "I what?" "Your species does not perceive emotional resonance the way mine does," Lyris continues, and Nathan notices that her luminescent patterns have shifted to colors he doesn't recognize. But Voltari sense emotional energy fields. When someone experiences strong emotion in our presence, we feel it, and you are currently broadcasting what I believe humans call romantic attraction, at intensity that is quite overwhelming from my perspective. Nathan wants the floor to open up and swallow him. "I apologize, that's completely inappropriate. I will request a replacement liaison for your delegation." "That is not necessary," Lyris interrupts, and now her tone carries something that might be curiosity rather than discomfort. "I am simply noting the phenomenon because it is unusual. In my experience, Voltari rarely inspire such immediate emotional response. We are considered cold by most species. Yet you react to my presence with intensity more typical of long-established bonds." She tilts her head slightly. "I am curious about this response. Why do you feel this way toward someone you have just met?" Nathan realizes he's being asked to explain love at first sight to an alien who may not even have the cultural concept. "I don't know," he admits honestly. "I can't explain it logically. I saw you and I felt drawn. Connected, like I'd been waiting to meet you specifically, even though I didn't know you existed until 10 minutes ago. I know that sounds irrational." "It does sound irrational," Lyris agrees, "but your emotional resonance is genuine. I can sense that you believe what you are feeling, even if you cannot explain it." She's quiet for a moment, and her luminescent patterns shift through several colors rapidly. "This is problematic. I am here for diplomatic purposes. Personal connections, particularly with other species, are discouraged for ambassadors. Emotional entanglements create complications." "I understand," Nathan says quickly. "I'll maintain complete professionalism. I won't let my personal feelings affect my work. And if you'd prefer, I really can request a different liaison." "No," Lyris says, surprising him. "I want to understand this phenomenon. Your species experiences these immediate strong attractions regularly, and they sometimes develop into lasting bonds." "Sometimes," Nathan confirms. "Though most humans would tell you love at first sight is rare or not real. I've certainly never experienced it before." "But you believe you are experiencing it now?" Lyris observes. "Yes," Nathan admits, because there's no point in lying to someone who can sense his emotions. "I know it's illogical. I know it's inappropriate, but yes, I am experiencing it, and I have no idea what to do about it except try to be professional and hope it fades." "Does it fade?" Lyris asks. "For humans experiencing this, love at first sight?" "Sometimes," Nathan says. "Sometimes it grows into something lasting. I honestly don't know enough about it to predict." Over the following weeks, Nathan and Lyris develop a complicated dynamic. Nathan maintains scrupulous professionalism in his role as cultural liaison, never pressing his feelings, never making her uncomfortable. But he can't hide his emotions from someone who can sense them directly, and Lyris knows exactly how he feels every time they interact. What Nathan doesn't initially realize is that Lyris is increasingly drawn to him specifically because of those feelings. In Voltari culture, emotions are carefully controlled and strategically displayed. Relationships are formed through careful negotiation and mutual benefit analysis. The concept of immediate, overwhelming, irrational attraction doesn't exist in their cultural framework. But Lyris finds Nathan's genuine, uncontrolled emotional response fascinating. He feels what he feels without agenda or calculation. His attraction is pure, not based on what he can gain from her, not strategic, not performed. It's honest in a way that Voltari interactions rarely are, and that honesty draws her in ways she doesn't expect or initially understand. She starts seeking him out for conversations beyond strictly necessary liaison duties. She asks him questions about human emotional experiences, about how humans form bonds, about the difference between attraction and love. Nathan answers honestly, never pushing for more than she offers, and his emotional resonance, which she senses constantly, never wavers or becomes manipulative. He just genuinely cares about her, and that consistency is something Lyris has never experienced. One evening, after a formal diplomatic reception, Lyris finds Nathan in one of the station's observation decks. He's watching stars, and his emotional resonance is quieter than usual, not sad exactly, but contemplative and slightly melancholic. "You are experiencing difficult emotions," Lyris observes, sitting beside him. "May I ask why?" Nathan considers whether to be honest, then decides that lying to someone who can sense emotions is pointless. "I'm mourning something that never existed. I'm in love with you, you already know that. But I'm starting to accept that nothing will come of it, that these feelings are mine alone to manage, and that's hard, but it's also just reality." "You mourn the loss of a relationship that never formed?" Lyris says, understanding. "Yes," Nathan confirms. "I know that's strange to grieve something that wasn't real, but the possibility felt real, and accepting that the possibility isn't going to become reality, that's a small grief." Lyris is quiet for a long moment. Then she says something unexpected. "Your emotional honesty is extraordinary to me. In Voltari culture, we control our emotional displays carefully. We negotiate relationships like contracts. The idea of feeling something this strongly for someone you barely know, without expectation of reciprocation, without agenda, it is alien to my experience." She pauses, "But I find myself drawn to that honesty, to you. Not because of diplomatic advantage or strategic benefit, but because your genuine emotion is something I have never encountered. You make me feel seen in ways Voltari interactions do not." "I don't understand," Nathan says carefully. "Are you saying you feel attracted to me?" "I am saying I do not have cultural framework for what I am feeling," Lyris admits. "But I think about you when we are not together. I seek reasons to interact with you beyond professional necessity. I experience distress when I sense your sadness. I want to understand you better, not for diplomatic purposes, but for personal reasons I cannot fully articulate." Her luminescent patterns shift to colors Nathan has learned indicate vulnerability. "I am breaking protocols by acknowledging this. Personal relationships with other species are forbidden for ambassadors. But I cannot deny that your genuine, unconditional emotional response has awakened something in me that I did not know I was missing." Their relationship becomes increasingly complicated as Lyris tries to reconcile her growing feelings with her diplomatic obligations and cultural prohibitions. She's supposed to maintain emotional distance, to view her assignment on Concordia Station as temporary duty before returning to her people. Personal attachments, particularly to humans, are considered breaches of professional conduct. But Nathan's continued genuine emotional presence breaks down barriers Lyris didn't even know she'd built. His love isn't performative or strategic. It's just constant, honest, and freely given without demand for reciprocation. That kind of unconditional care is so foreign to Voltari culture that Lyris doesn't have defenses against it. One day, Lyris receives communication from her superiors. Her diplomatic assignment is being cut short. She's being recalled to the Voltari homeworld for reassignment. The official reason is vague, but Lyris suspects the truth. Someone has noticed her increasing connection to Nathan and flagged it as problematic. When she tells Nathan about the recall, he absorbs the news with visible pain but immediate acceptance. "When do you leave?" 3 days, Lyra says, and I am not certain I will return to this station. They may assign me to different duties, different locations. Then we have 3 days, Nathan says quietly. I won't waste them being sad about you leaving. I'd rather spend them being grateful I got to know you at all. It's that response, grateful rather than resentful, accepting rather than demanding, that makes Lyris realize something crucial. She doesn't want to leave. She doesn't want to return to a life of carefully controlled emotions and strategic relationships. She wants to stay with this human who fell in love with her at first sight and never stopped caring even when he had no expectation of reciprocation. On her final day on the station, Lyris makes a decision that will change everything. Instead of reporting to her transport, she goes to Nathan's quarters and tells him something that violates every protocol she's supposed to follow. I am requesting political asylum. I am choosing not to return to my people. Nathan is shocked. Lyris, you can't give up your entire life because of what? Lyris interrupts. Because of genuine emotional connection, because of someone who sees me as an individual rather than as a diplomatic asset. Because I have experienced what it means to be cared for without agenda, and I do not want to return to a culture where that kind of care does not exist. She steps closer. You fell in love with me at first sight, and I noticed immediately. I sensed your genuine emotion and initially found it incomprehensible. But over these weeks, your honest feelings taught me something my species has forgotten. That emotional connection valued for its own sake, without strategic calculation, is worth more than all the carefully negotiated relationships my culture prizes. This will have consequences, Nathan says. Your people will be angry that I chose personal connection over duty, Lyris finishes. Yes, but they cannot force me to return against my will, and this station grants asylum to diplomatic personnel who request it. I am choosing you, and I am choosing a life where I can feel openly rather than strategically. Nathan, understanding the magnitude of what she's sacrificing, asks the question that matters most. Are you sure? Really sure? Because I never wanted you to give up your life for me. I just wanted you to be happy. I am choosing happiness, Lyris says firmly. I am choosing the possibility of genuine connection over the security of strategic relationships. I am choosing to see where these feelings lead rather than returning to a life where feelings are things to be controlled and suppressed. She reaches for his hand. You fell in love at first sight, I noticed immediately. And now I want to discover what happens when I let myself fall in love not at first sight, but through weeks of experiencing your genuine care and honest emotion. Will you allow me that discovery? Lyris's decision to request asylum and remain on Concordia Station creates diplomatic complications, but also becomes something unexpected. A case study in cross-species relationship formation that influences how both humans and Voltari think about emotional connection. For the Voltari, it forces a reckoning with whether their cultural emphasis on emotional control has eliminated something essential to well-being. For humans, it validates the idea that genuine emotional honesty, even the seemingly irrational immediate attraction, can transcend species differences. Nathan and Lyris navigate building a relationship that neither has a cultural template for. She's learning to trust emotions without strategic calculation. He's learning that his immediate attraction was real, but was only the beginning of deeper connection built through genuine understanding over time. Years later, when other Voltari begin questioning their culture's restrictions on emotional expression, and several seek asylum to explore relationships their culture forbids, historians trace the shift back to an unlikely catalyst. A human who fell in love at first sight with an alien ambassador, and that ambassador choosing to understand rather than reject his genuine emotion. Lyris writes about her experience, explaining to her people that Nathan's immediate attraction wasn't weakness or irrationality. It was the beginning of genuine connection. That his ability to feel so strongly for someone he just met demonstrated a capacity for emotional depth and commitment that Voltari strategic relationship formation rarely achieves. And Nathan, when asked about falling in love at first sight with an alien who could sense his every emotion, has a simple answer. I couldn't hide how I felt from someone who could sense emotions directly. So I stopped trying to hide it and just let myself be honest. And that honesty, that vulnerability, that's what built everything that came after. She noticed my love immediately, but she chose to understand it rather than reject it. And that choice changed both our lives. They become advocates for emotional honesty across